Black Swan was one of the first groups to truly pull off the global K-pop group concept, acknowledged by the Grammys, Rolling Stone, BET Awards, GQ, and more. Magazine covers, brand deals, performing in front of crowds upwards of 100,000. Everything seems to be right, and yet for some reason, they've consistently been unable to break into the mainstream, constantly teetering between incredible achievements and a perceived Nugu status. It's been 572 days since their last comeback, and it's been 268 days since their last public appearance as a group of four, when they performed at CaptureCon May 31st, 2025, an excellent performance that ended in tears. So what's happened since their last comeback in 2024, and why haven't they been seen together? Let's get into it.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this,
The Black Swan we currently know and love consists of four members: Fatu, Envy, Gabby, and Shreya. But it wasn't always like this. It's worth noting Black Swan's tumultuous history. They debuted in 2020 with 5 members and had lost 4 members by 2022. Lineup changes aren't uncommon in K-pop, especially for new groups, with many mainstream groups losing or gaining members. But Black Swan wasn't given much grace regarding this, as a K-pop group with a Dosklin Black member and under a company with a history of mismanagement and excessive lineup changes. And scenarios in which certain members left certainly didn't help. The current and longest lineup is the main topic of my video. So in the interest of time, here's the crash course. The group consisted of members H, F, Y, J, and L. Member H was the first to leave. She was always going to be only a temporary member, helping the group get on its feet as a favor to the CEO whose company she'd been under for a very long time. But her time in the group was unexpectedly cut short due to a fraud scandal, of which she was later proven innocent. The group continued as 4, but leading up to their first comeback, cracks had started to show. Member L was building a close relationship with a superfan, who'd buy her gifts, billboards, and even talk with her parents. It was this relationship and her desire to leave the group,
you know the movie Get Out? I want to get out.
Whatever that means.
Which led the members F, Y, and J to be falsely accused of bullying by L. The entire saga is too messy to get into, but if you want to find out more, I would recommend watching these. The saga concluded with an insincere apology live that did nothing to protect the members or show accountability. It also doesn't help that there were absolutely no English subtitles and it was completely in Korean, despite the fact that the majority of the group's fan base is international. The fans had no idea what was said until it was re-uploaded 5 months later by a fan. And by this point, patience was growing thin, both with the fans and within the group. The 3 accused members, particularly F, received insane amounts of hate, including racial harassment. Eventually, Y and J left in July 2022, with L going on an indefinite hiatus the next month. The scandal now hung over the group like a dark shadow, and Fatu was left to pick up the pieces. For this next part, I'll put a trigger warning for mentions of suicidal ideation and a timestamp on screen if you want to skip. After everything that happened in 2021, Fatu faced a steep decline in mental health. Now thrust into the leader position, not only did she have to start new friendships, she also had to help train new members. She was still being heavily harassed and later spoke out in a variety show in 2024 about how she'd shut herself in her apartment and turned to drinking for comfort, and even considered jumping from her apartment window. It's really unfortunate how even after the documentary was released that covered the events, Fatu wasn't given any space to talk about her struggles. The company had been holding auditions, and so trainees Gabby and Shreya became new members. During the silence, the release of Fatu's self-written mixtape, Psycho with a Pretty Face, was all that kept some attention on the group. Fans then met Envy during a random Christmas video that December with no formal introduction. She was unfortunately heavily criticized. Now we have the current lineup: Fatu from Senegal and Belgium, Gabby the Brazilian German, Shreya from India, and Envy from the USA. As a group of all foreigners with a rough history, they essentially became the punching bag of K-pop stans. Little did anyone know, their next comeback was set to be their biggest yet. Black Swan officially debuted as 4 with a performance at a stadium for the World Hockey Cup in India in January 2023, followed by a handful of festival performances there. The trip was pretty successful and they received a lot of press in Shreya's hometown. It was then silent for a few months, but some content was posted on the main channel, and the members were pretty active online. It had been 2 years since their last comeback. Fans were still apprehensive, worried about new lineup changes, restless in the silence, and in May comes Karma, a 2-track EP, the first K-pop MV filmed in India, and a love letter to the country's beautiful culture. The quality was a step up from previous releases. Viewers were captivated by the group's music show performances, and they pulled in millions of views, which is unusual for a group of their size. B-side track Cat and Mouse was also gaining attention for its easy listening nature. They promoted it 4 months later, which is pretty late for a B-side, and it only received 3 stages. So unfortunately, it didn't get the deserved hype. But the song still remains a fan favorite, with viral posts on social media, and it gave us the iconic viral Cat and Mouse fan cam. By the end of 2023, they had attended Waterboom, interviewed on CNN, BBC, and received an award for the Next Generation Hallyu Star. They were making a lot of noise, and they were doing it organically. People connected with their authenticity and diverse talents. For once, people weren't talking about their controversies, but their stage presence and vocals. The gap in online promotions by the company was filled by the members being themselves on live and showcasing a close and humorous relationship.
Phone and she cut your hair off the road. Hallelujah.
Although it wasn't without its issues, of course. L fans made it their mission to hate on the group until her exit was official. This led to several hate trains which targeted all the members, even those who didn't know L, but particularly Fatu. Trigger warnings for mentions of SA, timestamp if you want to skip. In one particular instance, L's fans had shared a resurfaced video of L touching the members inappropriately, which included her grabbing their chests and in general putting her hands in places that clearly made the other members uncomfortable. L's fans were claiming that she had done nothing wrong, which forced Y to come out and express her discomfort. I'm uploading this after holding it in for about 2 years. At the time, I didn't want to hurt the other members, so I just didn't say anything, and it was during a live. But now I can say it because I hated it so much. It was so unpleasant and I thought I was crazy. And after the live, the friend who touched my chest got in trouble. The fact check is over. DR's lack of clarity continued to affect even the members who had already left the group. To this day, DR Music never released a statement, although Fatu personally confirmed they'd be permanently full. This is one of many instances of Fatu having to clarify the company's messes. They rounded the year off with member Envy singing an OST for a Netflix show, Fatu and popular variety show Knowing Bros, Suya and Gabby starring in a tourism ad alongside Cha and Wu, a mini US fan meet tour and an online Chinese fan meeting that boasted 50 million viewers. Although the promotion was still pretty shaky, the group was significantly more visible than they'd been a year ago. They'd surpassed every expectation from fans to haters alike. Music-wise, the previous year ended off with Fatu's self-written and produced EP, Adaye Letter 1, with her releases once again doing the heavy lifting between comebacks. Like her mixtape, it didn't receive much promotion or budget, but the tracks were full of substance, being what Fatu describes as her most authentic self. 2024 started with Black Swan attending Seoul Fashion Week in January and a festival performance in February. Envy also began hosting a radio show alongside him of Wonder Girls. Aside from those few schedules, there was pretty much nothing for months. Members did their best to maintain interest by hosting group lives in their shared apartment. When fans were asked about new releases, they were simply told soon, and that was all.
Tell us about your comeback. Well, it's coming.
In April, it was announced that Black Swan would be holding a fan meeting in Japan. Soon after, the tickets sold out. A sold-out show in Japan surely meant good things for the group. In May, DR Music signed their trial artist, Neteju. Fans were skeptical considering their limited resources, whether the company had the skill to manage 2 artists. There was still no comeback, and the fans were growing restless. It was nearly a year since their last release. Then DR announced they'd be holding a group live. This was pretty unusual, so people figured there would be an important announcement. The live was just a regular live in their practice room without their usual playful banter. It was briefly mentioned to expect a comeback for June, but the members seemed tired and disinterested, and the energy was entirely off. June came around, and surprise, surprise, there was no comeback. it became pretty clear that it was a live organized by the company to get fans to stop asking questions. And that same month, the Japanese fan meet was postponed due to schedule conflicts for music video shooting. Yup, you heard that right. This whole time, the company hadn't found the time to shoot a music video, and now they were going to cancel one of the group's biggest opportunities to shoot it. Sorry, not cancelled, postponed. After a performance at Waterbomb, the comeback was finally announced 1 year and 2 months after their last release. The gap had led to some loss in interest, but the announcement still trended on social media. The 4-track EP roll-up was released in August. The fans were hopeful, noting an improvement in production quality. Fatu had gotten style choreographer friend Kani to choreograph for the group. She also participated in creating some of the tracks. It received high ratings from critics and their highest sales to date. They weren't as everywhere as Karma, but it seemed like they were slowly finding their way. Progress was slow, but progress is progress, right? By September, the Apple TV doc had been released. Though it brought up old wounds, it finally gave definitive closure on what had occurred in 2021. It also gave an insight to many of DR's mismanagement. They were set to perform in China, and it would have made them the first K-pop group to perform there since the Hallyu ban, if not for the typhoon the day of the performance. The fans were still hopeful, and through voting efforts, Black Swan received a Mammal nomination. This was a huge breakthrough. After being consistently sidelined, a group of all foreigners was on the radar of one of the biggest award shows in Korea. Despite this, the company practically ignored it and didn't promote the voting. The year ended with 3 new trial artists and the same consistent lack of promotion between comebacks, and members being kept in the dark about comeback schedules. The lack of online presence was so bad that fans had to protest and mass email the company to find out updates about the group. So it's no surprise that Black Swan's casual listeners of Karma era had decreased. But stay tuned, because this is the part where it gets really weird. 2025 got off to an even slower start with no schedules aside from Fashion Week in February. In March, slowly announcements for the summer started to roll in. A 4-stop tour in the US, a K-pop event in Germany, Waterbomb in China, and an arena performance in Uzbekistan. Wow, things might actually be looking up for them. May came around and they announced the single I Like It Hot, a song they teased at Waterbomb. Reception was mixed as fans had expected more than just one song, but there was understanding of it being a pre-release with more music to come. Spoiler alert, there wasn't more music to come. Once the video came out, it became pretty clear it had all been recorded during roll-up era and in the vault for months. Promotions were half-hearted to say the least. They posted 3 TikToks of the girls dancing to the track and then acted like it didn't exist. Black Swan performed in Uzbekistan, and it was revealed that they'd been personally invited by a minister to perform. They had a royal welcome, from police escorts to personal cars and billboards. But after all the hospitality, the trip didn't even receive so much as a thank you post on the official accounts. In May, they released a performance video for I Like It Hot, and the decline in quality was notable. On top of that, members were performing while sick in high temperatures. It attracted hate and criticism towards the group. In June, Black Swan was announced as special judges at an event in Seoul. 3 days later, it was cancelled due to internal scheduling conflicts. The next week, the Germany event was cancelled due to, quote-unquote, a variety of reasons. But at least we still have the tour, right? Nope. That too was postponed, citing visa issues. Considering the Orange Man's actions that year, it seemed reasonable but unfortunate. However, eyebrows raised at the mention of internal complications and conflicts in the statement. What could that be referring to? Fans were used to cancelled and postponed schedules, but the back-to-back cancellations with cryptic explanations felt odd. It turns out, a few days before the stream of cancellations, following their last performance at CaptureCon, Fatu detailed a situation in which she had to purchase her own outfit last minute for an event because the company had organized everyone's but hers. She spoke out on a Twitter space about different mistreatment, including how a staff member had disrespected her and tried to use her struggling with suicidal thoughts in the past to paint her out as unstable and isolate her from the members. The other 3 members then brought this to her attention. Honestly, while Fatu is known for being outspoken, when it came to DR's management, she tended to give them the benefit of the doubt. But it seemed like the frustrations over the years had finally built up, with DR refusing to cooperate since the last year and it was probably twice as frustrating facing the same pushback after being told she'd have a more directorial role. Since then, aside from the pre-recorded K-pop variety show, Fatu hasn't been seen on the group's page. Despite consistently reposting the content of the other members, the page has only acknowledged her when she appeared on another Idol's video and on a magazine cover. In September, Fatu was announced as a contestant in Korea's highly respected supermodel competition. This received no acknowledgement from DR Music. Despite placing first in popularity voting, her schedule for the competition received reluctant and little posts from DR Music. For comparison, the group page religiously reposts each and every selfie of the other members. Surely a prestigious model competition was worth a post. In October, Black Swan had their first performance in 4 months, but it would be as 3. The company cited Fatu's competition commitments, but it fell flat due to their lack of posts about the competition to begin with. People also found it odd that suddenly management was more consistent in posting when it came to OT3 schedules, when previously fans had to beg for consistent posts. Meanwhile, their trial artists are all over the company page, with Black Swan nowhere to be found. Mind you, I can scroll to the bottom of Black Swan's official social media in less than a minute because in 5 years, their social media presence has been consistently non-existent. But once the competition ended and other idol contestants returned to their group work, there was still little change. The group continued to attend schedules as 3 with not even a selfie together. The members have rarely mentioned each other in the last few months, and it's clear their public interactions are being restricted. Their last performance in December was once again as 3, which was the last straw for many fans, who began protesting using a Black Swan is 4 hashtag. The company is yet to respond, but they've even gone as far as to delete comments asking for answers on their recent posts. Now in 2026, after nearly 2 years of silence, DR releases a special AI video for a 2-year-old B-side track, Double Down.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
It feels like a slap in the face to fans and the members. Fans also noticed that in the video, the villain character seems to turn into Fatu. I won't even get into that. But DR Music's sidelining Fatu is particularly sinister because not only is she the glue who held the group together, but where there's gaps in management, leader Fatu stepped in. From styling to production to shielding members from hate, to allowing their vocals to shine by giving up her lines in a song, she's also been pushing for more content to be filmed and has been met with the company refusing to post it. The company has signed 3 new artists and hired no new staff. The group has been consistently unprotected from hate, from racial slurs to explicit images in their DMs, having to deactivate their personal accounts because of it, with only a single post proposing legal action against it in 2023, and DR never addressed it again. In over a decade, they've never taken action against the notorious Saesang who continues to harass their staff and artists. And although Fatu has confirmed she's still in the group, fans are concerned that the company is punishing her for speaking out. Even during Black Swan's worst scandal, they were still promoting on music shows. This isn't how a member should be treated, and in the wake of black girls in groups before her, I sincerely hope that history is not repeating itself. Now we're up to date, let's get into DR's pattern of mismanagement and position of power. People often misinterpret Black Swan's diversity as DR being a super progressive company, but they're still a K-pop company. We know for a fact that Shreya and Gabby were both on strict diets after joining the company. Shreya was force-feeding herself to the point of throwing up, and Envy has received multiple comments from staff about her weight. Because their comebacks are infrequent, people assume members aren't overworked, but DR's poor planning often leads to members having to memorize and practice choreos under intense, short schedules. Humane treatment doesn't end at basic freedoms. Traveling across the world away from your family to be met without any consideration for your sacrifices can take a toll on you. Black Swan members are all foreigners living in Korea, which means their visa status is controlled by DR Music. There's also possible debt and contract fees which K-pop companies have been known to use against their artists. And we've seen how DR will withhold contract information when it suits them. While I don't agree with the actions of certain ex-members, so much hurt could have been avoided if DR had respected their own contracts and treated members equally regardless of nationality. DR Music has consistently used Black Swan as a tool for their random business ventures and broken promises. From making them star in a web drama about kimchi to launch a diet kimchi brand that never saw the light of day. To promoting a clothing brand called whatever that is, that was allegedly owned by a family member. Not even to speak of the plethora of cancelled performances and unposted content. From a postponed Japan fan meet to a 6-country Asia tour to a comeback that was teased for December that never happened, promotion in Thailand that never happened, a lightstick competition that never produced a lightstick, a US tour for which many fans haven't been refunded, and multiple performance videos that are stuck in their drafts for some reason. It's no wonder that members are consistently in the dark about promotion schedules. Opportunities that aren't cancelled are brought in by the members themselves. Dio Music has a history of mistreating girl group members, especially black ones, from intentionally excluding black members from performances to forcing members to lie about their age and hiding their hands afterwards. Their CEO claims to want to build a global girl group, but it's clear he doesn't care about representation or progress, but rather the tokenization of foreign members and their fan bases. And yet, despite this, Black Swan still left their mark on the industry. What's kept fans hopeful is that one day, Black Swan's overwhelming potential would win over DR's mismanagement. Since debut in 2020, they bore the brunt of the industry's skepticism surrounding global groups. The hate they endured led to a more open-minded industry, with many groups propping up since their debut. Member Fatu, as the first Black African K-pop idol, inspired her fellow members to chase their dreams.
She's why I'm here. She's why I'm here.
And they went on to inspire even more people.
You really opened that door for people like me.
Member Shreya made history as the first Indian K-pop idol and has been making waves since pre-debut. They've been acknowledged by several influential figures, from ministers in Uzbekistan and India to formal invitations from the presidents of Korea and Brazil. Natural curls and braids on music stages, cultural appreciation, and they've never shied away from lending their voices on humanitarian issues. Which means that regardless of the repercussions, they've consistently used their platforms the right way. Black Swan showed that being an idol doesn't have to be changing your appearance or muting your voice. You can love yourself and others in turn, and whatever the future holds for them, I hope that that message stays with all of us. If you made it this far, I want to thank you for staying with this long video. If you can, please interact, not only because I put in a lot of effort into this, but because I want to spread the word as much as possible. Groups like Black Swan need people to keep caring, to keep talking about them. So please keep asking DR Music for answers. And yeah, we can only hope that either eventually they'll be free of this company or their CEO. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, thanks for tuning in.